Welcome back to the Market Frontlines. I'm Lyndsay Malchuk. Power Metallic is not playing the slow game. This is a company moving with scientific precision, aggressive execution, and a discovery narrative that is getting sharper by the week. From metallurgical results that start shifting valuation logic to a geological model that is getting more dangerous for skeptics by the day. This is not a story about potential anymore. It is a story about scale, about structure, and profitability. And the force behind that strategy is someone who understands how discoveries turn into market-defining assets. I'm sitting down with Terry Lynch, CEO of Power Metallic Mines. Terry, it is so great to have you back. I'm just so excited just to see you and delve into things again.
Hey, Lyndsay. Happy New Year to you. Great to be here. Wish I was there in person at VRIC, but just couldn't take another plane flight.
That's okay. I completely get it. Now, Terry, let's start where investors are quietly paying attention, but no one is really asking the questions out loud. That's the lion zone, and it keeps growing. The metallurgy is showing strength, and the orthomagmatic model keeps getting more defensible by the data. At what point does this stop being framed as a discovery story and start being severely valued as a district-scale system in the market's eyes? Not retail optimism, but institutional logic.
I think, that the Met study we released last week is a really giant leap forward in that argument. And that was probably, I think, from, much of the conversations we were having with, major institutions, that would be one of the things they wanted to see. And obviously we blew it out of the park there. I mean, nobody's ever seen Met study results quite like that anywhere. So if there was ever any doubt in anybody's mind, if this was going to become a mine, I think that should go a long ways towards satisfying it. And once you get there, then you sort of say, well, they're surely not valued anywhere close to being a mine. And so there should be a revaluation on that side of things. And then you get to the big question is just how big is NISK going to be? And I think we're going to answer that in a very exciting way this year as well. So we've got a lot of sort of flashing green lights for us right now, Lyndsay.
Well, that's exciting right there. And that leads naturally into that execution because this winter program is not cautious. It's very aggressive, Terry. The Lion Zone expansion, Lion West, Hydrolands, Tiger Deep, Elephant. Multiple targets, multiple shots at new pipes, and one clear objective, finding something that redefines the scale of the entire project. So when you look at Elephant specifically as the potential parent source, how confident, Terry, are you that the market is underestimating the upside if that source system is actually confirmed?
Yeah, they're definitely, if they had any inkling that it was going to come in, they would be worth several times more than where we're at right now. So clearly they're discounting it, and that's fair enough. We're going to get to it soon enough, and we'll answer that question. The thing that sort of keeps me awake is that the guys have found this system. They found other systems in their lives. The science has shown them where to go, and it's like, I don't know why people would be betting against us right now, but that's okay. We'll just keep on putting the results out, and eventually the results will speak for themselves. So we're super stoked to have the rigs turning. Drills are advancing us forward each day, and we're getting closer and closer to those targets. And we're, as you mentioned in your conversation, there's like 4 big targets that we're turning on. Any one of them will transform the understanding of the district. And what happens if all of them come in? This is the beauty of it about our game and about our approach is that the science that led us to the discovery of the Lion Zone is leading us to these areas with all the positive indicators. So we expect to make some serious discoveries here. And between that and the Met studies, and then people will start to get a sense for how big this is going to be. And I think we'll go from there.
And that's the key point right there is your head down is you just keep the head down. You keep focused on what actually matters there. And at the end of the day, those results, they're not going to be able to be ignored. So keep going, definitely, because there's a lot going on over there for sure. I'm excited. I'm invested. I want to see more. Now, Terry, we're going to pivot a little bit here and pivot to the science for a moment, because this is where the long-term valuation really actually gets built. Now, the metallurgical study that just came out, I think it was just last week, that wasn't just technical data, it's market signal, a strong market signal. Investors don't price geology alone anymore. They price recoverability and economics. So what would you say to investors who still underestimate how much metallurgy alone can change the trajectory of that mining story?
Yeah, I think, when you're a small, and we're still by definition, a small microcap company, even though we're obviously sizable for a junior, you're still small in the overall scheme of things. So to break through for the institutions, you first got to get noticed. And, I think we're on their watch list now. And I think if they actually start to do the work, with how big the existing discovery is and apply the math of the metallurgy to it, then all of a sudden they'll see that we're, an amazing economic success story just today. Forget about finding another pound of copper or another ounce of platinum or palladium, gold or silver. So, I think that's the start. You start there. And I think that what will happen is, as people begin to understand the math, we remember we had used 80% recoveries, and we ended up with basically 95%. So it's almost a 18% increase across the board, just in recoveries. And of course, in terms of profitability, that'd be almost double that, right? Because it just drops to the bottom line. So the recoveries are just phenomenal. I think I was talking with somebody today, and a very notable big shareholder of ours, but a major private equity guy in mining, and a billionaire. And he said, Terry, he said, I can't even almost believe those things. But he says, I've read through the report, so I know they're true. And I said, yeah, I mean, when we got those results, we checked them 5 times, and SGS did too, because it was such a mammoth result. But it's the nature of this type of ore body that Mother Earth has basically done the refining for us. And it's just that these ore bodies are, there's only 20 in the history of the world, so they're not exactly common. So it's not like we would have a lot of experience with these types of recoveries. So, I mean, a bit of that is everything we're doing at NISK seems a bit unbelievable. And, I remember when we dropped 32 meters at 7% copper, and, the stock went down 20% that day, which was like, it's just madness. But, I had said jokingly to the guys before we dropped that, I said, that hole was about 100 meters from surface. And had we gone from the surface down, we could have put 130 meters at 2%. That would have been legit reporting. But I sometimes I wonder if that would have been better, because I think people look at 0.7% or 7% and think maybe there's a decimal missing. Maybe it was 0.7%, because that would be much more typical for the average, copper discovery. So I think people have to get their head around that this is a super high grade. It's going to be super profitable to operate, and that's a good thing. It's not an anomaly. It's not a typo. It's just a miracle, and it's the miracle of NISK.
It's not a miracle. That's hard work right there, Terry. Hard work, for sure. I want to wrap up our time here together. I want to talk about strategy, because timing matters in capital markets, as we all know. So you are advancing discovery, you are advancing science and execution all at once, while also preparing for that NYSE process with a targeted mid to late February window after major news flow. Terry, that is big news right there. That's a lot on your plate. So how intentional is that sequencing? And further to that, how much of this is about controlling narrative momentum versus just operational progress?
Yeah, I mean, you always want to make a move to a new exchange like New York on good news, and on going there, strong as opposed to weak. And we knew we would have, starting with the Met study and the exploration results that'll be coming. We felt there would be a strong narrative in the winter, and that we would be make for a nice transition to New York at that time. So I think that was definitely part of the planning. And I think generally speaking, we can see that the macro world is certainly focusing on mining now more so than ever. You're in Vancouver. You were telling me just before we got on that VREC is just buzzing, and I'm not surprised. We were in Saudi Arabia 2 weeks ago at FMF there, and it was rocking too. So I think people are realizing more and more investment is needed in mining, and more returns are going to be made there. So I think the macro world is going to come and support the good stories. So I think if you have a good story and you're going to a big market like New York, then you're going to get noticed, and you'll get the investment as a result. So we think that's it's timely. We're keen to do it, and looking forward to getting on the New York whenever that happens. And
yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You saw it in Saudi Arabia. We see it here at VREC. the sentiment is real. Like, let's just take an exhale here for a moment, because it's been a tough bear market, and now we're in that bull market. It's time to just, okay, we got this. And, from the floor, we were seeing a lot of smiles, a lot of people wanting to talk. Tell us a little bit how that looked over in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, obviously a little different makeup over there. There you're dealing more with, it's almost like a state scale, not just Saudi, but, all over the Arabian Gulf and Africa and stuff like that. So it's interesting to see all the ministers and major business figures from around the world, arriving there. And it's been an experience for us to, start the exploration process in Saudi and just see how that runs over there. And it's really, I think there's going to be some amazing exploration stories come from Saudi that I think will rock the world. What the funny part is, we went there originally thinking this will be, access to tons of capital. And I think that will come, but their exploration appetite is still early days, but their exploration opportunities are, just fantastic. So I think there'll be some we were the first junior to apply for and get on our own, concessions in Saudi. And so we're moving forward on that. And I think there'll be some discoveries there this year. I mean, Ma'aden announced some major discoveries while we were there, several million ounces of gold and so forth. So Ma'aden is a monster company. I mean, they're probably top 5 mining companies in the world. That's the Saudi national company. And so they're making major moves. So it's pretty exciting over there. A little bit different than what we have at PDAC or VRIC, but different sides of the same coin, I think.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again, Terry. I'm really thrilled for what the year holds ahead for you guys, and looking forward to many more conversations along the way.
Yes, for sure. Lyndsay, the next time we'll be talking about some drill bit success, I expect.
Can't wait. Again, that was Terry Lynch, CEO of Power Metallic Mines, a company moving from discovery into definition, from theory into proof, and from exploration into scale. Now, you can track their story on the venture under the ticker symbol PNPN and follow the project evolution at powermetallicmines.com. This is one of those names where the next few months are not hype. They are inflection points. I'm Lyndsay Malchuk with Appeton Media. Thank you for watching the Market Frontlines, and we'll see you next time.